Hello, podheads, and welcome back to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. I'm your host for the day, Kylie Colwell.
This is Kate Carter.
And I'm Holly Spear.
Today, I'm bringing you all quite the doozy. We have the mishandling of evidence, cover ups, conspiracies, whistleblowers, and maybe even the mob. It's early in the morning of September 28th, 2014, when police and firefighters responded to a residential fire on Lake Drive in Skillman, New Jersey. The fire was quickly put out, but upstairs in the master bedroom were two bodies, that of husband and wife, John and Joyce Sheridan. The case was quickly ruled a murder suicide, but was it actually? Let's get into it. We're going to start with explaining the Sheridan family and how powerful and influential they were. We have dad, John Sheridan. He was a senior partner at a law firm at the time of his death, but he was also high up in so many other things. From 1982 to 1985, he was the New Jersey State Transportation Commissioner. He served on transition teams for multiple governors. He was the CEO of a hospital. John was also at one point the chairman of a nonprofit called Cooper's Ferry Partnership, which redeveloped land in the city. A very busy, well connected man. And wife Joyce was also quite busy working as a teacher and raising the couple's four sons. So we have twins, Mark and Matt, and then we have Dan and Tim. And at the time of this story, John is 72, Joyce is 51, and recently retired from teaching. The four sons play a huge role in getting the story and the truth out, as you will see. So let's go back to when this fire was reported. It's about 6 in the morning, and a neighbor of the Sheridans actually hears their fire alarm going off. He can't see a fire from his own house, but the neighbor starts to walk over and spots smoke coming out of a window on the house's second floor. Immediately, before even knocking on the door to alert anyone inside, the neighbor calls 911 to report it. He then knocks, but no answer. Firefighters and police arrived within a few minutes, and by now you can clearly see flames on the second floor. So they wasted no time and entered the house to save any possible person inside. They make their way through the house, clearing rooms and trying to find the source of the fire. Finally, they make their way to the master bedroom on the second floor. Problem though, the bedroom door won't open. With a bit more force, they were able to get in and they see that an armoire had been pushed against the door, blocking anyone from coming in. There wasn't time to think about why, because underneath the armoire was John Sheridan, and he was on fire. Firefighters quickly extinguished all of the flames in the bedroom and pulled John out to an ambulance, but he was already dead. Firefighters went back up to the bedroom and also discovered Joyce on the other side of the bed. Joyce was barely alive, but was later pronounced dead upon her arrival at the closest hospital. By now, there's a large crowd of nosy neighbors gathering outside of the Sheridan house, and they started calling the four sons. At first, there was a bit of worry because one of the sons, Matt, actually lived at the house with his parents, but he wasn't there. Matt was actually 4 hours away fishing, but the four brothers are getting the news of the fire, and all of them quickly drop what they're doing to get back to the house. Before one of the brothers could even get out of Manhattan, he got a call that both his parents were dead. Remember how I told you this family is super well connected? Well, Mark immediately called Governor Chris Christie's office directly and told them to have the county prosecutor call him to tell them what the hell was going on. And as the four brothers pulled up to the house, he did. He got the call back from Somerset County Prosecutor Jeffrey Soriano. Soriano does give a little more information. It wasn't just a fire. It had been intentionally set to cover up a murder, and both John and Joyce Sheridan had been stabbed.
I almost asked you, and then I was like, wait for it, Kate. She's going to get to this part. But I was like, did they die from the fire?
Let's get into it. So Joyce had been stabbed 12 times, with most of the wounds on her head and hands, suggestive of Joyce putting her hands up to block the attack. One of the investigative photographers who documented the scene said Joyce's injuries were so severe she was mutilated. One of the stabs pierced Joyce's aorta, which was the lethal blow. Two kitchen knives matching the set downstairs in the kitchen were found near Joyce's body and were determined to have been used. John, on the other hand, had 5 stab wounds, mainly to his neck and torso, with the lethal stab wound being to his jugular vein. The other stab wounds are more superficial, basically just breaking skin. John also suffered from several broken ribs, likely from the armoire that was on top of him. Both John and Joyce had first and second degree burns on their bodies, but John was found to have soot in his lungs and elevated carbon monoxide levels in his blood, suggesting he was still alive when the fire was set. Toxicology reports on John and Joyce didn't show anything abnormal. Both just showed the prescription medications they were on. DNA was collected from the blood on the knives found beside Joyce's body, but there wasn't enough really to build a profile. All the profile could tell them is that the blood came from a white male. And spoiler alert, John Sheridan is a white male. There was a drop of blood on John's underwear that couldn't be definitively linked to John or Joyce or exclude them. Male DNA was also found under Joyce's fingernails, but there also wasn't enough to build a profile to link to or exclude anyone.
Just know, if someone ever attacks me, I'm scratching the hell out of them. If somebody comes into your house and they're going to attack you and your husband, you're both in the bed, who do they attack first? And how does the other person not get away?
Yeah, you attack the husband or, the stronger, bigger person first, right?
Yeah, but you're telling me if someone attacks Cameron and they get away with it, I'm not already gone.
They are a little older. John's in his 70s, Joyce is in her 50s. I don't know if you just quick 1, 2, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyways, investigators at the scene determined gasoline had been used in the master bedroom as an accelerant, with the armoire being set on fire. The medical examiner ruled Joyce Sheridan's death a homicide due to the stab wounds, but for John, it was listed that he died from sharp force injuries and smoke inhalation. But the manner, like homicide, suicide, natural, was, quote, deferred pending further investigation, end quote. It wasn't deferred long because prosecutor Soriano made it very clear to the four Sheridan brothers that this was a murder suicide. He
No.
explained that John's wounds showed hesitation. Like I said, most of his stab wounds were superficial. Up until this point, everyone just assumed an intruder had broken into the house and murdered the couple. A murder suicide was on no one's radar, at least to anyone that knew them. There was not a single issue that anyone could think of in their relationship. No money problems, no extramarital affairs, no history of violence, nothing. The only thing the prosecutor's office could come up with as a potential issue is some land deal between two of John's organizations, which raised some conflict of interest questions. But according to everyone, family, colleagues, etc., it literally was not a problem at all. The investigators ended up interviewing over 180 people close to the family. Still nothing. But yet they stuck with this murder suicide conclusion. A weird thing did happen, which makes this all the more confusing. Prosecutor Soriano told the brothers that they should probably have their own independent autopsy done because the medical examiner isn't very good.
Well, let's get rid of him.
Okay, so the medical examiner's office lost accreditation in 2012. The toxicology lab lost their accreditation in 2009. The medical examiner himself was not board certified in forensic pathology. At the time of this case, there was no state medical examiner, meaning no one was supervising these autopsies.
So it's just a recipe for a disaster.
Yep. And just a small example of what this medical examiner got wrong, he put down in his report the wrong age, height, and weight for John. Basic information. Despite all this and telling the sons to get their own autopsy done, prosecutor Soriano didn't change his mind or investigate any other possibility. Luckily, the four brothers did take his advice and got an independent autopsy from the best, nonetheless. They hired my favorite, Michael Baden. You know him from the show Autopsy.
He is your favorite. The amount of cases you found with him in it is pretty impressive.
Maybe that's how I pick my cases. I go Michael Baden's case list.
Yeah, alphabetical order.
Yeah. So Michael Baden does the autopsy with the deputy state medical examiner, Eddie, and they both agree on the same things. The stab wounds to John and Joyce were from the same knife. And you remember how there were two knives found beside Joyce? Well, they determined it definitely wasn't one of the knives because that one was a serrated bread slicing knife. As for the other one, they weren't super stoked on it being the murder weapon either. The determination was made that it was most likely a third knife, which was not at the scene, which, by the way, rules out a murder-suicide because a dead man can't dispose of a murder weapon. So where is this knife? Well, the four brothers were allowed to enter the house and look at the scene. Beside where John's body had been, they found a lump of metal that investigators did not collect. It was 2 by 6.5 inches and weighed a little under 5 ounces. First thought was this could be the third knife that melted, so they sent it for testing. The metal was found to be primarily zinc with some aluminum and copper, which apparently is not commonly used in knives. And the other knives in the kitchen were not of the same composition, and the fire wasn't large or hot enough to melt them. So it's likely this metal was originally a knob or fixture on the armoire rather than a knife, but this third knife is still missing. Another thing Michael Baden brought up is why would someone who is committing a murder suicide bother to also commit arson to cover up evidence? Why attempt to cover up a crime if you're not going to be around to deal with the consequences? Even more frustrating, a month after the fire and deaths, an insurance adjuster found something that police just completely forgot about. Upstairs in the master bedroom bathroom was a bent fireplace poker. Just to note, there aren't any fireplaces on the second floor of this house. So, a weird place for it to be. Also, it's bent. The four brothers and Dr. Baden theorized that the fireplace poker could have been the reason John had broken ribs. He had been beaten with the poker rather than having the armoire fall on him. Investigators had taken a photo of the poker in the bathroom, but they left it there, didn't collect it, and didn't test it. And we'll come back to Baden's autopsy and reports in a bit, but for now, let's see what the county is doing. In March of 2015, the prosecutor's office concluded that John Sheridan had committed suicide and that there was no evidence of an intruder or anyone else being in the house. There were no signs of a robbery. There were thousands of dollars in the nightstand, expensive jewelry, all the things left behind. No signs of someone breaking in, and no neighbors reported any unknown people peeping around before or after the fire. The fire was accelerated by gasoline, with a gas canister that was taken from the basement of the house and left there. John's DNA was on the gas canister handle. The matches found in the bedroom were from the downstairs fireplace. The weapons, being the knives, were from the kitchen downstairs. And this is something I do agree with. It is weird for someone to break in with the sole purpose of murdering two people to not bring any of their own weapons.
Fair.
They've got to be familiar with the house.
I mean, I guess you could say, like, obviously every house would have knives in the kitchen.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily do that, though, because if I was going to kill someone, I would take the murder weapon with me.
True. The surviving sons did not agree with this conclusion and were quick to go to the press to express this, basically calling out the investigators for doing a shitty job. Not only did investigators just not collect evidence, but this fire was reported around 6 a.m. The entire scene was cleared and done by 10 a.m. Somehow they investigated and collected evidence from a murder, suicide, and arson in only 4 hours. Luckily, we have the four brothers and Michael Baden actually putting in the work. So we'll go back to Michael Baden's reporting. Huge thing that they found, none of Joyce's blood was found on John. Somehow, John stabbed Joyce so many times and so brutally to the point where she was described as mutilated, but none of her blood splattered back onto him. When firefighters found John's body, he was only wearing his underwear and a t-shirt, and no bloody clothing of any kind was found in the house. Baden also testified that the angle of John's neck wound, the lethal wound to his jugular vein, was at a downward angle, not consistent with being self-inflicted. In addition, the knives found at the scene in the bedroom were not consistent with any of the wounds inflicted upon John. Now onto the fireplace poker. Baden stated that John's broken ribs could have been caused by the poker, but of course there's no way to know for sure. Baden also included in his report that John had a chipped front tooth, which was not mentioned anywhere in the report done by the county medical examiner. Baden also pointed out the fact that the back door at the house was unlocked at the time first responders arrived, and maybe a third person perpetrator just grabbed whatever they could on the way upstairs. And just to paint a picture of this town, Skillman, New Jersey, in 2020 had a population of 237 people.
I thought you were going to say 237,000 people.
No, it's a tiny little town. It's kind of near Princeton. There's like zero crime.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on. A random murder would be far-fetched.
Right.
Especially like a couple that everyone they talk to can't think of anyone that has a problem with them, no problems between them.
Yeah. And it definitely gives everything about it so far gives off the vibe that it was someone they knew as well.
I mean, it's pretty violent. You have to be pretty angry to do that.
I mean, okay, and we're positive the sons have all alibis because the first one you said was 4 hours away fishing.
Yeah, they've all been cleared.
Huh.
Speaking of enemies and grudges, remember how prosecutor Soriano said they interviewed 180 people close to the couple? Well, they left out quite a few people who were super close to them. This includes Joyce's best friend, any coworker John spoke with 24 hours before their deaths, none of their employees who worked at the home, and several people in close physical proximity. I'm talking about the neighbors. One of the neighbors, Tom Draper, ended up speaking to the local news about what he saw because the police never contacted him nor got back to him. Same day of the fire, around 5:45 a.m., so shortly before the fire was reported, Tom Draper almost backed into a parked car in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Tom reported that after this near accident, the car sped off in the direction of John and Joyce's house, which was on a dead end street. So that's weird. Even more weird or suspicious is that there was evidence that all of this, whatever it was, wasn't confined to the master bedroom, and the police photographer was specifically told not to document anything outside of the bedroom.
I mean, it obviously now is sounding like a cover up.
According to police photographer Barry Jensen, John's blood spatter was found on the walls outside of the bedroom and in the stairwell. This was corroborated by a retired homicide detective who was brought in to tour the house, saying the splatter was consistent with the stabbing. Not to keep reiterating the point, but if you were to stab yourself to death, why would you be doing it while you're walking down the hallway and up the stairs? And then go into a bedroom, set an armoire on fire, and then pull it on top of you.
Yeah. There's a lot of better ways you could do that.
Photographer Barry Jensen told WNYC the following, quote, "If I make a mistake, I'll own the mistake, and I'll own the mistake that I didn't document that blood staining on the wall. That was something that I should have done, even though I was told not to. If I had to do it over, I would definitely do it," end quote. You may be wondering if the investigators have a response to this, and they do. Their excuse is that it wasn't blood splatter on the walls in the hall and stairway. It was blood transfer from carrying John Sheridan out of the house by the first responders. Every independent reporter and investigator disagrees with this, by the way. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a picture up. But blood smearing on the wall from carrying like a victim down the hall is very different from splatter up the wall from a stabbing.
Do you know this makes no sense?
None of it makes sense. We know they didn't get anywhere with the DNA sample found on one of the knives. It could only show that the DNA belonged to a white male. But what about fingerprints? Well, you guys will love this. They didn't dust for any.
I had a feeling as soon as you said you're gonna like this. This is so botched.
It gets to a point where you're like, are they this stupid or is this intentionally done bad?
This is intentional for sure.
One of the detectives working the case later revealed in a lawsuit, which we will get into later, he said the investigators only used the flashlight technique, meaning they used flashlights to look around for fingerprints, and they concluded there were none. And you may be wondering if this is a common technique, and no, it's not. They admitted that this was just an excuse to cover up the fact that they did not look for fingerprints. It's not a real thing.
They're like, yeah, we use the flashlight technique. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's this new groundbreaking technology.
Yeah, you just shine your flashlight and say you saw nothing.
And weeks after the deaths, a reporter was brought to the house and they found a bloody fingerprint on the inside of the front door. Shocker.
Not just a fingerprint, a bloody fingerprint, which would probably be pretty easy to see.
You would think. So we have this bloody fingerprint not collected, the fireplace poker not collected. We also have something that was not in the house, which is even more interesting. 2 months after the deaths, John's driver's license was found at a college 1 hour north of the home. The person who found it mailed it back to the house, not knowing of the deaths. Investigators did collect the license, said they started to check it for fingerprints, and then nothing. I couldn't even figure out what college the license was found at, but the way it was written, it seemed like there was zero connection to this college.
Okay.
For anyone in the family.
But yet the police did nothing about it.
I know I keep going on and on about how screwed up this investigation was, but I'm going to keep going and get into the lawsuits. After prosecutor Soriano released his report stating this was a case of murder-suicide, the four brothers filed a lawsuit against the state to have John Sheridan's cause of death be changed to undetermined. They're not even asking for the manner to be changed to homicide. They just want at least for it to be undetermined so that the investigation can continue or actually start. Unfortunately, the panel of judges determined that there was no standing, and instead the suit should be filed against the medical examiner's office, not the state. While this second lawsuit was pending, over 200 very important people signed an open letter asking the medical examiner to change John's manner of death. These people included 3 former governors, a former justice of the state Supreme Court, 2 former attorney generals, and many other prominent attorneys. Still, nothing changed. But we do have this detective's whistleblower lawsuit. In 2015, Detective Jeffrey Scazafava, which is a fun name, filed a lawsuit against Somerset County Prosecutor's Office for violations of the Conscientious Employee Protection Act. He alleged that the prosecutor's office transferred and demoted him from the forensic unit to the fugitive unit due to Detective Jeffrey whistleblowing and, quote, lodging complaints regarding deficient and improper evidence collection, end quote. Remember John's license that was never checked for fingerprints? Well, Detective Jeffrey was in the middle of doing that when he was demoted to the other unit, and no one ever picked the license back up.
Do they just think that it's a coincidence that the license was found after his death? Like they just think he must have lost it pre-death? Or are they putting 2 and 2 together, or like 5 and 5 together, that this is not the suicide?
They don't even like comment on the license.
Strange. Okay.
Yeah, they're covering up some shit.
Yeah.
Okay, in this suit, the detective alleged that the officers in the forensic unit had no experience. The burnt bedding from the Sheridan's house was left in a truck for months and then stored in an open bag. His supervisor, Lee Niles, rarely wore gloves at crime scenes. Blood collection swabs were not properly packaged. Evidence envelopes weren't taped shut. Lee Niles threw evidence out in the garbage, and of course, the flashlight technique for locating fingerprints. So that's great to hear. Unfortunately, Detective Jeffrey's lawsuit was dismissed, but he later settled and did sign an NDA preventing him from talking about this case and any others that he alleged forensic misconduct, which is also great to hear. We do have good news. In February of 2016, Governor Chris Christie did not reappoint Prosecutor Soriano to a second term. And in January of 2017, a new state medical examiner finally changed John Sheridan's manner of death from suicide to undetermined. The examiner did note that he believed John's stab wounds were self-inflicted, but that, quote, no weapon was recovered from the scene that could be conclusively associated with the wounds sustained, end quote. You may be thinking this is good news. This is what the brothers have been fighting for, but this has caused another problem. Mark Sheridan, one of the sons, has said that since the case is still open, the prosecutor's office will not share any information, but they're also not doing anything either.
They don't have any information to share.
Because they didn't collect or test
They
anything.
didn't do anything.
Another thing I didn't mention earlier is that when one of the sons, Matt, went to the police station for an interview following the deaths, police asked him if they could search his car. And Matt was a son who lived at his parents' house and was out on a fishing trip, by the way. He consented to the search, and police found cocaine, a scale, and plastic bags. Matt ended up being arrested, but wasn't officially charged, being eventually let go. And then 2 years later, after the lawsuit had been filed, Matt was indicted for possession of cocaine 2 whole years later. Of course, the son saw this as just straight up retaliatory, and luckily the charges were dropped after the search of Matt's car was deemed to have been illegal. Mark Sheridan has described this case as in limbo, and that is where it still stands today. No clear answers yet. But we do have one more aspect to look into: a murder committed 3 months before the deaths of John and Joyce Sheridan. In May of 2014, Michael Gaudieri was found murdered in his apartment in Jersey City, New Jersey. Michael had been stabbed to death and set on fire. Michael was the son of State Senator James Anthony Gaudieri. He was also good friends and a former employee of political consultant Sean Cadle, who was responsible for his murder. Sean Cadle hired George Bradensis, who had also worked with them, in Bomani, Africa, to kill Michael for $15,000. Why? We don't know. Sean nor the prosecutors have given a reason. The 2 hitmen pled guilty to the murder and were sentenced to 16 and 20 years in prison, respectively. Sean also pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 24 years in prison in 2023. And why did it take so long to sentence Sean? Well, buckle up. Sean's sentencing kept getting delayed due to the FBI taking over the investigation and using Sean as an informant for an undisclosed investigation. While we don't know what this important investigation was, we do know that according to the plea agreement, Sean would be recommended to serve a sentence of 15 years instead of the life sentence he was facing. And the prosecutor did end up recommending 15 years, but John was ultimately sentenced to 24. Whatever this investigation was, nothing as of yet has come from it. No big reports, findings, arrest, but we do have inklings of clues as to what it might have entailed. So, George, one of the two hitmen, has a history with organized crime and is sort of known on the streets as the go to hitman for mobs. He's also known to set fire to places he robbed and people he murders to cover up evidence. The other hitman, Bomani Africa, was a former cellmate of his. And you may be wondering, how is this connected to the deaths of John and Joyce, besides the stabbing and arson and political connections? Well, one day after the Sheridan deaths, George was arrested for robbing a bank in Connecticut with a long bladed butcher knife. When the Sons found out about this and the other similar murder, they asked the prosecutor's office to test George's knife for DNA. Instead, the prosecutor's office kept asking the Sons about a supposed missing knife from the knife block in the kitchen. So the prosecutor's office is concerned about this missing third knife they can't find. But at the same time, they're saying one of the two knives in the bedroom were the murder weapon. So they're just contradicting themselves.
Right.
I feel like it's strange to even use a knife to commit any of these crimes, anyways. So the fact that he robbed a bank with a knife makes me think there's not that many people that would do that kind of stuff, you know?
That has to be like a stylistic choice at this point.
Right. Because that's not even the most efficient thing you could use in either a murder or a robbery.
No. Mark Sheridan sent a letter to the New Jersey Attorney General and Somerset County Prosecutor about the Michael Gaudieri murder, saying, quote, "As you may be aware, those facts are eerily similar to the circumstances surrounding the death of my parents. Your offices all but laughed at my family's suggestion that my parents' death were anything other than a murder-suicide. Indeed, both offices openly mocked the idea of a killing for hire involving a stabbing with a fire set to destroy evidence." End quote. The Sheridan brothers preserved the drywall with bloodstains for further testing before the family home was sold. They're doubtful that any new evidence will be discovered, but are hoping someone will talk. You may be torn on whether this was a double homicide or a murder-suicide committed by John Sheridan, but the one thing that is clear is the fact that what little investigating was done was definitely not up to any standard. The Sheridan family has put up a reward of $250,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of their parents' killer. The Somerset County Prosecutor's Office is still handling the case, which is considered cold. And that was the ongoing story of the deaths of John and Joyce Sheridan. I'm excited to hear what you guys and the listeners think.
I can't believe that station still has the case. I guess when there's not enough evidence because they didn't collect any. They're just letting it turn into a cold case. I definitely think it's a cover up. By who? Not sure, but 100%.
Usually my default is like it's not a murder for hire situation. But in this case, I kind of think that there's something shadier going on.
People are very quick to throw around mob, hitman,
Mm-hmm.
police cover up, but like this time, it might just be that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think anything else would make sense though.
No.
But the one thing that does get it for me, like that I feel a little off about is the fact that it was a knife was used. We tend to see cases that when knives are being used in the attack, it's very personal. It's someone that knows the victim, someone that has a lot of anger, or, it's a bad situation, but it's almost always a personal connection. I just don't, nobody said they just didn't have beef with anybody. That's like an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a very like well off to do man.
The only reason I could think of like a hitman using a knife is just because it's quieter.
Yeah. Even if it was a hitman, the person hiring him could have been like, I want you to use a knife. Because dying from knife, like stab wounds, is rough. And then to catch on fire because you're not dead yet. That's like worst nightmare
Brutal.
situation.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have no leads in my head of like who done what.
That's the thing. It could go anywhere.
Were these investigators just really horrible or were they trying to be horrible, you know?
I guess that's the big question of the day. All right, listeners, let me know what you think. But we're gonna jump into overtime. I told the ladies, let's talk about New Year's resolutions, whether you have one or if you have any strong thoughts or feelings about New Year's resolutions. Kate, Since you're so well prepared, go ahead.
So excited. I don't think New Year's resolutions ever go right. But that being said, I try to always do some or try, at least attempt. I'm one of the attempters. I will say the number one New Year's resolution that everybody always does is the whole working out thing.
Yeah.
And as someone who I was in high school, I worked at a gym. I remember January and February, the busiest months, but I think it's like there's some percentage or something like that it's like it takes people 17 days to stop going to the gym for their New Year's resolutions. Like it's a very short amount of time.
I was one of those people
Were you?
for sure.
So that one's not on my list, but I do have some things that are like, okay, to eat fresh produce before it goes bad and I throw it away.
That's a good one.
Now this one kind of sucks, but I need to do it. I need to go to the grocery store more instead of having it delivered to my door. Okay, so my next one is break down all boxes and put them in the recycling can instead of hoarding them in my garage.
Relatable.
It's a good goal.
Okay. Go for more walks outside regardless of the temperature and to not complain.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Okay, this one is actually, I want to do this one. I want to start back at making overnight oats. Were you guys
Oh.
ever overnight oats people?
I was.
I love how specific these are.
I put some time into it. Look, you give me some time and I'll do it. There's a company that does overnight oats and you get them in a package and it was fantastic. And I love oats. So, overnight oats.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I got two more. I want to start writing down all of my favorite recipes as I make them. I cook a lot and I bake a lot. And I want to have a place, I want to have a cookbook of like my favorite things. So then I also don't have to like think about, I'll just flip to a page and be like, this is what we're making for dinner tonight.
Kate's cookbook.
Kate's cookbook. And then my final one, and look, I'm going to be very honest. I don't think any of my gym girls listen to this podcast. No, they all do. Shit. Okay, well, they're going to hear this. If anyone knows me, you know I hate running. It's my worst fear. I hate it so much, I will do anything to not run. Literally, I'll do any other exercise. I would like by the end, I'm going to give myself till the end of the year. Okay, so I'm giving myself full 12 months and I'm going to be postpartum. I am going to run a half marathon.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm going to do it. I have a goal in my head of running a marathon someday as someone who just despises running. I have a goal that I want to run a marathon. Like that's something in my life I want to do. I just need to fucking start doing stuff like, like, because I'm just going to get older. My body's just getting shittier. So why not just like put it out there for the world to hear? My gym girls are going to they're all runners. So, and they all do like marathons and halves and shit like this. And I'm always the one on the bike because I'm like, see you later. Have fun. Could it be me? So I'm going to run a half marathon by the end of the year. I don't want to run with someone else. So if someone else is thinking of doing it with, nope, no, you're not. You can run somewhere else.
Thank
I'm
God.
not going to tell anybody the one I'm signing up for so they don't show up, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it because it gives me something to like focus on.
So I can't even like show up with like a cute sign.
You just can't run it with me. I hate running, but
You don't, baby,
what I hate
you
even
don't
more
have
than
to worry
running,
about that.
what
Yeah,
I hate even more than running is running with someone. So
you do not have,
Perfect.
yeah, you do not have to worry about
Yeah.
me and Holly running with you
if
anywhere.
anyone tries to show up and run the half marathon with me, just this Kylie story that she just did, I'm going to carry a serrated knife in my pocket, okay? And I will stab you.
Watch out, runners.
Yes. You can show up with signs.
Okay.
You guys want to run a half marathon together?
Oh,
Not now.
you just said you were going to
Scared.
stab us.
Could you imagine the three of us running a half marathon? It would be a shit show.
I'd be laughing the entire time
Yeah.
and crying.
Kylie would be like pissed off the entire time. Holly would get injured and I would just be unhappy to be there. And you know what? It'd probably rain the entire time too.
I feel like the only thing that could like take us out as a friend group would be doing something like that together.
Like a group activity that we all hate.
A group physical activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we better just not.
Yeah.
For the sake of our friendship in this podcast, let's
Yeah.
never enter any physical competitions as a group.
Holly, do you have any resolutions?
Yes, just like the typical ones. I want to read more, drink more water, like all the stupid ones. But I think I like New Year's resolutions because I think even though people don't stick to them, it gives people maybe like an excuse to start,
Hope.
but also maybe an excuse to like prolong them because I made my New Year's resolution and then I was like, well, I'm not going to start. I'm going to start Monday, like Monday sounds better than the first. which was like on what, Friday, Saturday?
I will say drinking water is a big one.
Yeah, I
I'm a
don't drink
big,
enough water.
I'm a massive like any drink in the world, I will choose water. Like I'm a big water drinker and I believe in you, Holly.
Yeah, put anything else in front of me and I will drink it before I drink water. I think I only get my water through other liquids, if that makes sense. Like,
We need to
yeah,
post a picture of your fridge.
yes, Olipop,
Sponsor. Sponsor
spon
Holly. Yeah.
yeah, I deserve it. I can
Addiction.
promise you that. If you sponsor us, I won't drink any more water again ever.
For the
How about
rest of your
that?
life. Yeah.
We'll just see if I can sustain myself on poppies or Olipops, I mean. I got to get it right for the ad.
Yeah.
I do the liquid IV sometimes. Yeah, drink water. I feel like that's a pretty like I can do that. Work out. I mean, I like to work out anyways, but I want to be more consistent. I was at the gym yesterday and the class was jam-packed full of people. So the gym statistic thing is real, for real, for real. But all in all, I like New Year's resolutions. I think they're a fresh start for people and blah blah blah.
Oh,
What
blah.
about you, Kylie? I feel like Kylie's gonna have a fun year.
Kylie, this is your year. You're the year of the horse, girl.
You're the horse girl.
It's the year of the horse girl. Yeah, that's what it is. I saw. I saw
Is
it
this the
on
year of the horse?
some kind of Chinese calendar. I saw it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
This is gonna be Kylie's year for sure.
I can't think of any resolutions because I'm perfect and my life's going perfect right now. So,
Okay. We're 6 days
Dude,
in.
it fucking
All
is
right. So
though.
calm down a little bit with your attitude. No need to rub it in all of our faces.
I'm kidding. Guys, if you have any problems with me, send us a DM. I will resolve it this year.
Yeah.
Ooh, can we do it anonymously?
Yeah, any haters out there, let me know what I'm doing wrong, what I need to change.
Kylie, I don't think you need to change anything.
I've got a whole list.
Guys,
Kylie has, she does not answer to anyone. She does whatever she wants. She hangs out with her dad and loves her life. What? I mean,
You guys,
he's
calm,
fun. What?
calm it down. We're 6 days in. Kylie's having the best 6 days of 2026 so far. All right. Let's not, your New Year's resolution is not crash and burn. That's okay. Because we want you to have the best year. You're already, you know what? Kylie's already off to a good start too. She's got a vacation planned.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that in the first six, like we're not even a weekend. You already having a vacation planned. That's a good one. How old are you turning this year? No, you're not 30 this year.
Dude, if I was turning 30 this year, I would be crashing out.
I was gonna say
You're not
actually
turning 30 this year?
no.
No.
So I'm like, thank God, because that
Yeah.
actually might be bad for that year.
I am.
Yeah.
Ew. I know. It's so sick, isn't it?
We gotta do something fun.
I think I should have a 16th birthday party.
You should do a sweet 16.
I should. That'd be funny.
Yeah. If you don't plan anything, just know because you'll forget this by the time your birthday comes around.
I'll forget
Kylie and I
more.
are definitely gonna do something for your 30th. So
Uh, yeah.
yeah.
All right, guys. We have some parties to plan.
Yeah.
Some resolutions to do.
Not Kylie
Uh,
though.
Not me. I'm perfect. And thank you for listening to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. And we'll see you next week with another case. Make sure like, subscribe, all those annoying things. I'm so sorry. And bye.
Bye.
Bye.